3 weeks, man. And it's kind of coming full circle because we're 3 weeks from the draft, and the process of getting Stefon Diggs was actually a really fascinating 3-week process. And I'll take you back. You want to go back in time?
I would love to go back in time.
Let's go to March 14th.
Mm-hmm.
That was 3 weeks ago yesterday, March 14th.
Okay.
The Keenan Allen is traded to the Chicago Bears, and then the reports surface from perhaps the best new newsbreaker on the Texans, Diana Rossini, that the Texans were in on this deal.
Yeah.
And they offered a third-round pick last year, but it wasn't enough, so the Chargers elected to trade him to the Bears, and the Texans missed out. Now, what that showed us, though, was that the Texans were looking for offensive weaponry. They were looking for another wide receiver. So what happens the very next day? This is March 15th. Mm-hmm. This is 20 days ago yesterday.
Okay.
The Texans make the trade with the Minnesota Vikings, the draft day trade. We're like, what the hell is going on here? Now, they move back 19 spots. They add an extra second-round pick, and they have the pick swap at the end.
Yes.
So that was then. Then March 29th, Friday, March 29th. Texans clear up cap space. They clear up cap space. Titus Howard restructures his deal, and we wonder, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
And that brings us to yesterday, April 3rd, 3 weeks after the failed attempt at Keenan Allen. The Texans take that extra number 2 pick that they got from the Minnesota Vikings. They trade it to the Bills. Mm-hmm. They get Stefon Diggs. They take that cap space that they cleared up with Titus Howard, and they're going to take on that contract. So in 3 weeks' time, the Texans executed a wild plan, which I don't know whether you call it a plan or a pivot or you call it both. We talk about P&P, Payne and Pendergast. Mm-hmm. P&P, plan and pivot with Nick Caserio, because the original plan was Keenan Allen, and then he kind of pivoted and he went and got Stefon Diggs, which might have been a better option given everything that happened and given everything that you did after you failed to get Keenan Allen. That's 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks of pretty good gamesmanship by Nick Caserio.
Gamesmanship, planning, pivoting, but it all goes back to the same thing, and I just mentioned it to the boys as we're getting on air here. It's a vision. Like that's the best way to put it. I've always, I've said yesterday, like you could tell everything was working to this point to getting a receiver and a running back and all that. But that's actually what it is a vision of what he wants to do. And we pride ourselves. We were talking about this yesterday after the show. We pride ourselves on being very, very, honest. How we feel about this club.
If they're sucking, we're going to say they're sucking.
And
if they're doing good, there's going to be a gray area, all that, yes.
If the uniform...
It's the only non-negotiable we have, really.
Yeah, if the uniform reveal is comical, we'll say it. And then 2 weeks later, we're saying this dude had a vision that was unbelievable, and he was brilliant. So we pride ourselves on that. So I'm telling you, I don't want to go over the top. But
do it, man.
This was...
It's time to go over the top. If you want to go over the top, go over the top right now, sir.
All right, let me go over the top with a couple of thoughts I had then. Number one, we're in the midst of the best general manager this city has seen since Jeff Luhnow, and maybe the best general manager ever. Depending on how it plays out.
Easy now.
No, depending on how it plays out.
Easy now.
If they win
the greatness of Jeff Luhnow is still being enjoyed.
I said since
even
then,
after he left.
I said since then, but if they win 2 or 3 Super Bowls in football,
he's on fire, figure.
In football in this city, I'm talking about 10 years. Because this is a 10-year plan. That's the other part of the vision. It's not just put everything into the 2024 season. It's put everything into building a team that is sustainable and is sustainably great. Here's the second wild over-the-top thing that some people might think it's over the top, but I don't. I think this trade, because it's still ongoing, there are still players to be acquired. This trade might go down shoulder to shoulder, the trade of Deshaun Watson with the Herschel Walker trade. It might go down shoulder to shoulder with that trade when you look at all the elements that have come out of this thing.
See, there's different, like we're just measuring it by result, impact, and stuff.
Well, we don't know the results fully yet, but we know what they're getting.
I get the comparison of the Herschel Walker trade, and I think Nick Caserio deserves a lot of credit for being patient with the Deshaun Watson trade.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hike my leg on it because I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the difference for me between, and maybe this actually goes in Caserio's favor. I'm just saying it's a difference. You can lean either way, and you can look at it from Caserio point of view. We got to see results. We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
And I've tried
this
to
is a big if. Yeah, this is a big
I've
if.
tried to say that from the start. Like, we don't know, but from what we know so far.
The difference for me would be that they didn't have a choice as to whether or not to trade Deshaun.
Yes.
Because he wanted out, and it was a situation where you had the off-field stuff, so maybe you were able to be patient. The Herschel Walker trade was just hey, we're going to go in there. Hey, let's do this. Oh, by the way, we're going to get 3 guys, 3 veterans. We're going to waive them and get first-round picks by waiving these veterans. It was there was a lot of layers. Like, I think the compensation for the Herschel Walker trade speaks for itself, but the fact that Jimmy Johnson first was willing to do it right off the top, and second, I know a lot of people might not know this, but they got 3 decent veterans back, and they cut their ass so that they could get extra draft picks because there was like little things in their contract that said that that's what would happen.
But I think, and you alluded to this, Caserio almost deserves more credit for that.
And that's a good case to make.
Because
his
hands were tied. Like, people had him over a barrel, allegedly. And still, you're going to get out of this just the Deshaun Watson trade. Forget C.J. Stroud, which is kind of like an offshoot of it because you had to get a quarterback once Deshaun's gone. So it's not a direct C.J. Stroud, but it's kind of an offshoot. But directly, you got Stefon Diggs, Will Anderson Jr., Tank Dell, Damian Pierce, Kenyon Green, and a 2nd, 4th, 5th, and 6th round pick to come.
No, you dominated it.
Dude.
You dominated it. No, and you were patient in doing so. And the other thing about it is this is what's kind of wild is, you know, I heard Sean and Seth talking about potentially like some blueprint or something. That they didn't say it. Some weasel said that, you know, this is, and I think he might have been kidding, so I don't know, but someone said, you know, the people are going to copy what the Texans are doing right now.
I don't know if you can.
Well, there's a lot of luck, too. I'm not saying that to take away from it. There's some good stuff, but there's some luck, right? Cleveland, probably not going to give you the best offer, but you end up taking their offer because you don't have a choice because of the no-trade clause. You have the obvious, the CJ thing. So sometimes there's some luck, too. The other thing that I'm starting to think, I don't think DeMeco's getting enough credit.
I kind of with you on that.
Like, I don't think any of this is possible without DeMeco Ryans. I don't think DeMeco is getting enough credit for what he's done. And I know people respect him as a coach and stuff, but they work close together. Who knows who was the one that was nudging with this trade or moves or anything like that? I don't think any of this is possible. And I think he might be the prime ingredient without DeMeco. So it almost feels like DeMeco doesn't get enough credit, which is weird.
I'm kind of with you on that. I guess and I was Mr. Nick Caserio yesterday, and I will be today too because of what he's been able to pull off. But without DeMeco, you don't have that. Listen, Nick, I want this. He's writing out the grocery list. I feel.
Yeah.
DeMeco is.
Yeah.
That's his part. I feel, but to be able to pull it off, it's still on Nick. You know, to be able to get it done like that.
No, for sure. And he's the one. God knows if he screws it up, we're going to blame him.
Yeah.
You know?
And we have.
Yeah. So that's the other part of it. Landry Locker, John Lopez, Figgy Fig with you. I feel like this is just kind of recharged. And I don't think we needed a recharge. What is a recharge when you don't need a recharge that just increases the vibes even more? What is that? What's the equivalent of that?
What's the equivalent? Like you're humming along fine.
Yeah.
But you still get
But then it just gets better. Like you're pleased with your life, but then your life gets even better.
Maybe a jolt. Maybe an unexpected windfall.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like here we are, you know, we're happy, we're making a good living, we love what we do, and all of a sudden somebody says, just for fun, we're gonna give you, and I'm not even talking about money, you know, you're gonna be able to also do this just for fun. Cool. It's just like a jolt to an already good thing.
So we talked about the 3 weeks. This is where it gets even crazier because there is more. And we'll get into this in 10 minutes. We've talked about one 3-week plan. I think there's another 3-week plan in effect, and they've told us this. They've shown us this. We follow the clues. Sometimes you follow the clues and you don't find a damn thing. We followed this clue, this 3 weeks, failed to get Keenan Allen. What was being said? Well, they're obviously telling you that they want offensive weapons.
Yeah.
Like, they want offensive weaponry. They're telling you they need offensive weapons.
Right.
Shout out to AAA, Angry Argumentative Andy. March 15th, the trade with the Vikings. March 29th, the Titus Howard restructure, and then the Diggs trade. We followed those clues. Those clues were connected.
Yes, they were.
Now, it's a dangerous territory to get in when you're always trying to chase clues, but I do think there's a clue that tells us that there could be even more excitement ahead. Stay tuned for that. We got you covered here in 10 minutes. Landry Locker, John Lopez.
Somebody said turbocharged.
And Figgy Fig with you. Okay, turbocharged. What does that mean? Is that like a car phrase?
Yeah, we're going good, and then you turbocharge it.
Okay, so we're going.
Yeah.
It's faster or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I'm good with that.
That works.
That's a jolt.
I think so.
Yeah, that's a jolt.
Might work.
By the way, whatever happened to Angry Andy? Wasn't he just torching us for Nico Collins is a number one and all this other stuff?
Hopefully he's just...
Yeah. Has he seen the light?
Hopefully he cut his fingers off so he can't call.
Has he seen the light? 713-572-4610, Andy.
AAA.
Yeah, AAA. We accept apologies here.
Well, the other thing is he gonna? Because if y'all remember this phone call, it's funny, but Saquon Barkley sucked because his numbers got worse as the season went on.
He said something about Nico too. I think that he was a number one.
Well, Nico and Tank can get hurt. He said NFL injuries take care of themselves.
Yeah, something like that.
Which I don't know what that means. But they don't need offensive weaponry. All right, brother. Appreciate you for calling in. Shout out to the loopholes. If you listen, you are one. Landry Locker, John Lopez, and Figgy Fig. There was a lot of crazy reaction to this move around the country, around here. What does disappointment look like with Stefon Diggs? That's a question I got to ask because I don't want to sit here and play devil's advocate. I just want to ask you, when it comes to this trade, when it comes to what you gave up, when it comes to what you got, what does disappointment look like? Because this doesn't feel like a situation where you're asking Stefon Diggs to be the man. It's definitely not a situation where you gave up all these draft picks and this draft equity, and you're going to have to give him like some sort of revolutionary contract where you're tying yourself down. So what exactly does disappointment look like with the Stefon Diggs trade? Like, what is the worst-case scenario? Because even the worst-case scenario, I'm looking at, okay, he flops.
Yeah.
That doesn't even seem too bad. It still seems like a risk worth taking. Furthermore, I can assure you this, he is not going to break up, tarnish DeMeco Ryans' locker room. I don't like to speak in absolutes. Anything can happen, but that's the one thing. I don't think anyone is going to come here and diminish, demoralize DeMeco Ryans' locker room.
I'll put it this way. If his production drops by 25 catches from last year and 200 yards, he'll have 82 catches and over 900 yards receiving. So like 20 dropping by 25 catches and 200 yards is a big drop off, right? Is that disappointment? No. It's still 82 catches and over 900 yards.
Because you still have Nico and Tank.
Yes.
So this is where you kind of meet in the middle. Like, is Nico a number one receiver? The debate can continue, but it's not like he has to be either.
Right.
You know, you're not sitting here relying on, oh, Nico's got to play this way to perform this way. Now you can spread out the pie.
Yes. Like people who say, and we've seen a couple of these things, you know, is he washed or he's washed? Okay, if he's washed, let's say he drops by 25 catches and a couple hundred yards. That's a season that's almost identical to the one Nico had last year.
And by the way, the Spillane thing that he brought up yesterday, they changed offensive coordinators.
In midseason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and his role kind of diminished. So there's that.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. So, yeah, if I told you, is that a disappointment? My first thought would be, yeah, kind of a disappointment, but you know what? Sign me up for that. Sign me up for that. As more catches than Nico had last year and just about 150 yards less in a disappointing year. Well, what's Nico and Tank going to do? You know, in that case. So, yeah, no, it's absolutely a home run. Absolutely a home run.
Absolutely a home run. Hit it out of the park. You know what I think I should do?
What should you do?
I should play some audio from last night's locker room.
I think you should. Like, we need an expert's opinion. How about, like, me or you? What do the experts say about this whole deal?
We were giving Sean a hard time, and he was.
It was funny.
Well, the last segment, did you hear it, Fig?
I missed it.
Yeah. They played Sean's reaction to the Diggs trade. And I was like, he's right there.
Let's go to the audio.
He's right there.
Let's go to the audio of, me.
But we've done it with the DeAndre Hopkins, but that was like the in the mood type of vibe.
We're just giving him a hard time.
Giving Sean a hard time.
Yeah.
Have to. He's got that NWO hoodie on. I think today it stands for Nick World Order.
Nicky Buckets is what I'm going to call him.
What?
Nicky Buckets.
That's the worst nickname I've ever heard.
That's the best nickname you've ever heard.
That is easily the worst nickname. That's worse than the Rock Boys.
No.
Nicky Buckets is worse than the Rock Boys. 713-572-4610.
Nicky Buckets. Because he has these buckets he always talks about. He went into those buckets and plucked out Stefon Diggs and plucked out Joe Mixon. And he still got everything done. Nicky Buckets. No, unconscious.
That's not
right, Figgy?
I ain't feeling that one, man.
Come on.
I ain't feeling that
That's
one.
not working. You can do
Nicky
better.
Buckets.
Where the buckets come from?
Because he's always talking about you put these players in these buckets, and then you try to decide.
He's the 40-minute man.
Okay. Well, he has been that.
He's the 40-minute man.
He has been that. He's a lot. I'm going to go with Nicky Buckets. 713-572-4610 once again. Do you approve?
He's the vest chess master.
That's a reach.
Vest chess master.
I let it sink in. I tried to comprehend it.
Oh, it's above the depth chart of Nicky Buckets.
Hell no.
Oh, come on.
Hell no.
Nicky Buckets?
Nicky Buckets.
The hell's he doing? Hooping?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's hooping.
Is he Jimmy Butler's brother?
Yeah, you see, now you understand why it's such a good nickname. Like he's
That's the worst nickname you've ever come up with.
No, Nicky Buckets.
I admire your creativity. That's the worst.
I love it.
Nicky Buckets.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm.